This video contains spoilers on Better Call Saul up through and including the 10th and final episode of Season 5. So viewers, please be warned. The spoilers are about to begin.
You're one of those people that give a little money to charity every month so you can make up for all the bad that you've done.
I have a case in Tucumcari, and there's something I want to discuss with you.
You are accusing me of something. Go ahead and say it. Are you talking about malfeasance? Working against my client's interest? What?
Makes you feel like one of the best rich people.
There's always another play.
Okay.
Okay.
We grab them, put them in a bag, and we take them out to the desert.
Yeah, we're done here. We're done. Let's be real.
Putting me on this, that was bad.
I just need to end this now and move on.
But why? No, hey, we have him. But, I mean, well, we win. Us.
No, I didn't.
What didn't you get that you wanted?
I already tried like hell to get Sandpiper settled.
Yeah, but you went about it wrong.
He doesn't deserve that. And who knows if we could pull it off.
Sorry, but this is how you do it.
It's not you. Okay, you would not be okay with it.
Wouldn't I? I just need to end this now and move on.
What didn't you get that you wanted?
Wouldn't I?
So Kim locks the door and her and Goodman watch as Lalo departs. Mike basically tells Saul he's on a need-to-know basis, and then Saul finally comes clean. Kim seems sympathetic to Goodman's plight, and the newlyweds flee to a fancy hotel. Kim's all fired up for tomorrow's pro bono fun, and Jimmy asks this.
Am I bad for you?
You crossed a line. I make my own decisions for my own reasons. You're not going to do it again.
Am I bad for you?
He's testing the waters here, but Kim acts as if it's a one and done. We now have evidence that Goodman knows, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that him simply being in Kim's life puts her in danger. This is important and comes into play again later. The next morning when Kim is all fired up to go to work, Jimmy tries dissuading her from leaving. But Kim is having none of it, and this is important too. Meanwhile, Mike updates Gus near the ruins of a once mighty branch of Los Pollos Hermanos. Mike persuades Gus that Nacho has earned consideration. Gus devises a way to kill two birds with one stone regarding his assassination plot for Lalo. So when Nacho arrives there, he soon gets the mysterious phone call. 3 a.m., the gate at the back. Nacho's slickness was that of a resourceful macho Nacho man. First, he expertly slithered away when he got the call and handed Lalo the socket wrench. Then he was cool as an assassin while getting quizzed by the mighty Don Eladio himself. When the big moment arrived, Macho Nacho's resourcefulness was once again on full display. He masterfully prepared for opening the lock. Then, when faced with the obstacle of Lalo's insomnia, he asked for a stronger drink. Lalo agreed, but he directed Nacho to do the heavy lifting. Nacho improvised on the fly and created a fire before returning with some stiff drinks. The fire worked as planned, Lalo grew perturbed, Nacho escaped in a timely fashion, and Nacho was free. Unfortunately, Gus's hit team was incompetent, and Lalo proved mighty resourceful in his own right. Lalo only needs 1 or 2 hours of sleep each night, and he's been preparing for this moment his whole life, and he outmaneuvers his would-be assassins. Lalo ultimately neutralizes the entire team, but at great cost because all of his household were casualties of the assault. All of Lalo's fears about what Kim was saying have now surfaced. The man he was grooming for a promotion was directly involved in his attempted assassination. Meanwhile, Kim has been having quite a day of her own.
There's something about Jimmy you ought to hear.
Grant, just let me have some tricky ones. Think of all the extra time you'll have to spend on your egg stuffers. Sorry. You really had me going there.
Laugh if you want.
I'll take 20. Today.
20. That's your offer.
You and I both know. It makes no sense to drop a client like Mesa Verde.
All of these cases are pending?
Pretty much.
I believe Kim had a two birds with one stone mentality here as well. I have no doubt she wants more challenging cases. But if in doing so, she can also find a way to grab a hold of any cases with suspected cartel connections, well, that's something to think about for next season. Her situation with Howard almost seemed like a turning point. She did pause when Howard mentioned Jimmy confessed to these childish attacks. But Kim stands by Goodman and takes things a step further when she mocks him in belittling fashion. The episode itself may have ended on an angry Lalo on the warpath, but the real ending for the season for me were the final two scenes with Kimmy and Jim.
I'd rent the smallest, shittiest office I could find near the courthouse and open a pro bono practice.
Makes you feel like one of the best rich people.
All right, pro bono is wonderful. It is, but pro bono means no money.
Sorry, but this is how you do it. Sorry. I think maybe the next thing is his hair. I make my own decisions for my own reasons.
Pack my stuff. I think I got yours too. Double check.
I'm hungry, Jimmy. And there is nothing to eat at home anyway, so...
You would not be okay with it.
Wouldn't I?
Ever since Goodman was hit by disaster in the desert, Kim has doubled down on her devotion to Goodman. And the same can also be said in reverse. But an interesting reversal of roles came together with this. All season long, I believed that Kim was wishy-washy. Kim had trouble discerning the location of her invisible line of moral conduct. Meanwhile, Goodman was the one who seemed to fully understand his line of conduct. Goodman seemed perfectly happy with where he drew that line. Even when he appeared a bit visibly distraught over representing lowlife Lalo, he ultimately decided to be the bagman for a price. Goodman was okay with where he drew that line. He was in the game.
She's in the game now.
What? No, she's not in the game. I'm in the game, you're not in the game.
What? The game?
When Mike made Goodman realize that Kim was in the game, at that moment, I don't think Goodman knew where his line was any longer. Wishy-washy Goodman is now conflicted. And it's all because he had that moment of clarity where he finally realized not only were his actions endangering Kim, he pulled her in the game. But while this was happening, Kim realized that her love for Goodman was the most important thing in her world. When Kim mentions she saw Howard, she didn't go into one of her holier-than-thou lectures. Indeed, she mocked Howard, and she encouraged Jimmy. Kim was devising schemes to ruin Howard's hair, and Howard has a damn fine head of hair. This entire conversation, that apparently lasted for hours, it all built up to Kim trying to ruin Howard for personal gain. Wishy-washy Goodman objected.
We're not talking about a bar trick here. We're talking about scorched earth.
We're talking about a career setback.
The entire buildup was Kim once again playing Goodman like a fiddle. She did the same thing when she unleashed him on Acker. Kim knew full well once she put Goodman in motion, there was no stopping him. So Kim sabotaged her top client, but back then she was still wishy-washy Kim. She tried washing her hands clean of it, knowing Goodman would still go along and do her bidding. These criticisms that were directed at her earlier this season by Acker...
You're one of those people that give a little money to charity every month, so you can make up for all the bad that you've done.
I'd rent the smallest, shittiest office I could find near the courthouse and open a pro bono practice.
Makes you feel like one of the best rich people.
Acker was right. Kim knew he was right, that's why it hurt. But now Kim is embracing all of that. After an entire season of wishy-washy Kim has now arrived. Kim is the one who's comfortable with where she draws the line. She can indulge in her guilty pleasure pro bono work and scheme and scam her way through life to properly pursue that dream. Ladies and gentlemen, Kimmy Goodman has arrived.
Wouldn't I?
Prior to this, Kim was the only thing preventing Jimmy McGill from going all in on Saul Goodman. It's always felt that way, and there is compelling evidence to support this. McGill recognized this when he realized Kim was in the game. After the altercation with Lalo, Jimmy realizes he's bad for Kim. He asks her as much. And later it seemed like he was actually trying to break up with her, even if it was a feeble effort because he doesn't really want to leave her. Goodman wants to protect her. Kim doesn't want his protection, and now all of a sudden, she's 5 steps ahead of Goodman. The student is now playing the master. So now Kimmy and Jim are at an entirely new crossroad, and Jim knows that not only did he put her in danger, he also created a monster whose skills and insight surpass his own. In other words, the place where Kim is now comfortably drawing her line, that line is much further out in left field than Goodman's ever was, and his objection over Howard kind of proves this. And so remains the plight of our beloved newlyweds entering the 6th and final season. What I liked most about this season, aside from the turntables on the whole Kimmy-Jim dynamic, is the fact that really all of the main characters have been coping with where they draw that line. Macho Nacho wants to survive, but above all else, he wants to protect his father and has shown a willingness to do anything to that end. Mike and Gus are both trying to influence one another, where they both seem to be approaching a middle grounds of sort. What I suspect will happen in the last season is that Mike will ultimately be the one who takes out Lalo, unbeknownst to Goodman, which would explain the Lalo reference in Breaking Bad. This will be what ultimately bonds Mike and Gus, where I suspect Mike is going to act like a mentor to Gus, a mentor who helps shape Gus's moral code. And as for Kimmy and Jim, I don't know. I imagine it probably goes one of 2 ways. Either McGill rejects Kim, or Kimmy gets in over her head in some capacity. But what I'm really looking forward to next season is seeing more of Gene. And when you look at all of this season 5, Gene was in a panic before he ultimately realized he had to take things into his own hands. And now at the end of season 5, before making the full transformation, Goodman is once again in a panic over the monster he created in Kimmy. I thoroughly enjoyed the 5th season. I can confidently say it's my favorite season of Better Call Saul to date, and I, for one, cannot wait for the 6th and final season. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and have a wonderful night.
Okay, you would not be okay with it.
Wouldn't I?
You know who really knew Jimmy? Chuck.
You're just gonna keep hurting people.
That's not true.
Jimmy, this is what you do.
Let's be real. Putting me on this, that was bad.
You hurt people over and over and over, and then there's this show of remorse.
Wouldn't I?
She's in the game now.
What? No, she's not in the game. I'm in the game, you're not in the game.
What? The game?
Am I bad for you?
Are you bad for me?
In the end, you're going to hurt everyone around you. You can't help it.
Till death do you part.
I do.
You can't help it. So stop apologizing and accept it. Embrace it.
There's holmium and helium and hafnium and erbium and phosphorus and francium and fluorine and terbium.
Okay, you would not be okay with it.
What?
You're done. You are done!